Do or do not. There is no try when it comes to finding halite. Typically, I would do a video like this in my single player test world, but instead I decided to really put my skills to the test. I'm on the Rusty Gears SMP server. If you're not aware of the Rusty Gears, then I suggest taking a long look at yourself in the mirror and see what your life choices have led you to. The Rusty Gears are a group of eager, fun-loving gamers from around the world playing Vintage Story together, all on our own server. Go check out all the gears. There is a link to their channels down in the description. Anyways, I need soul, and that means I need to go mining. And I thought about how this might be a great opportunity to show the process I use for locating halite. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be successful or not, but the process is what I want you to see. So pay attention to the process. Hey, look, I'm super confident in myself, and besides, the only people who never fail are the ones that never try. So enough jibber jabber, let's get to it. First, let's talk about what halite is and why it's important. Halite is a mineral in Vintage Story that is used to create salt. This is an important resource for players as it's used in preserving food. Now, on a server like ours, food can spoil real quick, so having multiple ways to preserve food is critical. Halite can be found in various locations throughout the game world, but it can be difficult to locate without the proper techniques, which I have in buckets. Next, I'm going to show you my step-by-step process for locating halite in Vintage Story, but the first thing we need to do is get everything together. So make sure you've got everything you need before you head out. You're going to be gone for a while, so make sure you got your pro pick. Several pickaxes, shovels, and ladders. You're going to want torches, gates or fences, signs, and something to write on them with, like chalk or charcoal. You're also going to need some various building materials because you may need to pillar across in caves. Think about taking logs and maybe a saw with you too, so you can turn them into planks or slabs. Food. Always bring food, and it helps to bring a cooking pot along as well. With all this, you still need to bring some empty space to haul all your treasures back. So using a mod like carry capacity and the better chest mod will help out with that a lot. And I also suggest everybody use prospector info. You're going to see it on my map. It is a tool that you definitely don't want to be without. When it comes to finding an area to look for halite, I like to look in deserts and flat areas to start off with. And I'm looking for sedimentary rock layers that are at the top, such as like claystone and my favorite, sandstone. But you can also look for areas that have chert, shale, conglomerate, bauxite, chalk, and limestone. In deserts, what you'll find for halite is usually going to be in the form of a disc, and it's not going to be very big. It'll just be underneath the sand surface or exposed on the side of a hill. Now here at my dome, this looks like a good place to start. It's a nice big flat area. There's a desert to the south that's made of a sedimentary rock, and right here where my dome is sandstone, which I have always had the most success finding halite in sandstone. All right, so let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find an area that's in the center of a chunk and where one of the directions is divisible by 200. So where I'm at right now, I want to head to the south. So it looks like negative 5400 is probably going to be the right spot. And it looks like probably 18865 is going to be kind of the center line. So let's start digging right here. We're going to go down and we're going to take a couple of samples. Okay, so not bad. We've got kind of what I knew, because you can see I've already been testing this area. We're probably not going to find an area where you're going to have like decent or very high, but having an area that says poor is actually not too bad. So now what we're going to do, we've dug down at negative 5400. The next spot we're going to go to is going to be negative 5200. So we're going to travel 200 blocks and we're going to dig another hole right on this same line of 18865 and at negative 5200. So let's get over there. All right, and survey says, okay, see, this one says very poor and it's only 4 parts per thousand. So you can tell that the density, the ore density model is showing that we're going to have a better chance for halite back where we started at than we are going to have here. Notice the word very poor. That is less than poor, right? So we don't want to go into an area where it's getting lesser. So I think we're going to move back and test in that area. So let's go back 100 blocks and test there and see if we're still in very poor or if we're in poor. All right, so here you go. We've moved back into an area, it's called poor, and the number's actually higher than what it was at 5,400. So thinking about a big density area, kind of like a heat map, it's going to show where Halite's at. There's going to be a center part of it where the number's going to be the highest. So we're going to have to test all these areas to see where the number's the highest. Now I've already done that, so let's take a look at this map. So you can kind of see the methodology I used. So I started going this way first, and I saw it going down to 3.3. That's no good, so I started back in the beginning again, and I decided to try a different direction heading north. And you can see as I headed north, it's very poor at 11%, and then I got to minuscule at the next one. So that's not a good direction. So then we started doing this direction, and we started off with the 21.7% here, and then we went down the 200 blocks, and that's where we found it very poor. That tells you it's not going that direction. We need to head back. So we came back the 100 spots or 100 blocks, and we just tested here, and it was at 24.1% poor halite. From this one at 21.7 to this one to 24, tells you it's probably in this area. So I did test these other areas. You can see it going down 19, 17, 24.1, 23.2, 24.3. So between all of these, there's got to be some halite here. So we're going to come back probably to this next chunk up, and we're going to start digging kind of in the center of it in lines in the 4 direction points. So let's go back to that spot and see what we can find. Let's see if we can find the center of the chunk first. And I'm going to try to stay on that 18,865 because we know that's about in the center of the chunk. We're going to have to do a little bit. It's probably right about here. So let's dig down. Oh, there's some quartz. That'll come in handy for the dome. If you found this video helpful and you're enjoying yourself, please leave a like and consider subscribing for more vintage story content. Also, let me know in the comments if you have any tips for finding halite that I might have missed. So we found granite, which is the igneous rock zone. So this is the transition zone. And since we're going to be tunneling, let's move our ladder up one. And it sounds like we've got a cave really close by, so we're probably going to be fighting through a cave. So with our tunnel, first direction, let's start heading towards the desert. And as we go, we want to make sure we keep that granite layer at our feet, because that's how we know that we're going to be staying right in the transition zone. Now, every time I get about 10 blocks, which this is the 10th block. So now we're going to dig poke holes in each direction. 2, 3, 4, and test the 5th one. Well, what we're watching for is for sylvite. And there we go. Verified trace amounts. So that means that within 8 blocks of that block is halite. So let's start going that way and seeing if we can triangulate it. So I'm going to put a torch down here, and that's going to indicate the first location that I found sylvite. And now I'm going to dig another 8 blocks, and I'm going to do another test. And let's test here. Trace amounts. So we had trace amounts there and trace amounts here. Let's go back to the first one and let's dig 8 this way and do another test and see if the amount changes. And remember, since your pro pick range is set, or my pro pick range is set at an 8, so every 8 blocks I'm going to test again. If you had your pro pick set at 6, you would want to test every 6. Ah, so now it says small amounts. So now we know we've actually moved closer to the halite. So now from this way, we're going to start digging in 8 blocks and testing again. Oh, and there it is. Was that the fastest to find halite? There it is. All right. So let's see how big this thing is. I think I'm going to dig all the way around the edge of it so we can get an idea of how big this thing is. I kind of knew, I mean, it's one of those, experience plays a lot to do with it, but I've always had better success finding halite than sandstone. So knowing I've got sandstone in this area in high numbers almost always convinces me that I'm going to find halite pretty quick. All right, so I went all the way around the outside edge and to see how big it is, and this is a big one. So the farthest point this way is negative 5314. And if we go all the way to this side, farthest point is negative 5281. That's a big deposit of halite. That's enough halite for this server, for every person, probably until we can get to Vintage Story 120. Wow. And plus we're going to be getting the sylvite, which we can use for on our gardens to increase the potassium. Yeah. So it goes into potash. And then you get a 15% bonus on your potassium. So that's a good thing to have around with us also. So that's how you find halite. I hear people say that finding halite is hard, but if you use a good methodology and practice, you will be successful, just like me. Thanks for watching me on this halite hunting adventure. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Vintage Story content, and I'll see you in the next video.